Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and today I'm coming to you with a video to answer a very frequently asked question in many of my live streams. This question is, what do I think about Brand X's piston upper receiver for AR-15s? Well, I'm going to do this by showing you guys three guns. I can't do that on live streams. For some reason, YouTube's policies don't allow us to do that, but I can in my videos. So I'm going to first start off by showing you one of my favorite M4 clones. This is a Colt AR-15A3 that I built into essentially a 6921 14.5-inch barrel. It's a registered SBR. And you guys can see I went with a lot of flat dark earth and desert tanned furniture on this, all like Knights Armament stuff, B5 system stock and so forth. But this is the system that I think an AR-15 and an M4 is designed to use. This uses a direct gas impingement, or direct impingement, a DI gun. And essentially, for those of you who may not know, when the cartridge is fired in the chamber and the bullet exits the barrel, there's a lot of pressure that is built up in the bore behind that projectile, which eventually, of course, is released through the muzzle. But the AR-15 has a gas port. Typically, in a gun like this, it will be in the A-pillar front sight, and it will vent off some of that gas and put it into a gas tube, which is then vented back into the upper receiver, and the bolt and bolt carrier will actually expand as the gas enters that system. The downside to this, and it was one of the big problems when the AR-15 and the M16 were first introduced in Vietnam, is that the gun essentially poops where it eats. You get a lot of gas and a lot of buildup in the receiver of the gun because it takes the gas from the front and the gas is there and brings it back into the receiver. So that was solved by using different types of propellant and cleaning these quite often. AR-15s can run pretty dirty, but they do need to be maintained on a regular basis. So over time, some companies trying to, I guess, blend the designs of guns like the AR-18 or the AK-47 came up with systems that would incorporate either a long stroke or mainly a short stroke gas piston system like this HK MR556A1. And the way that this gun works is that you have the same, it uses the same cartridge, the 556. Actually, this barrel is 16 inches. But it has a gas port right here in the front of the barrel. Well, it's not the front of the barrel, but a few inches from it. And as the cartridge or the projectile leaves the barrel, the built-up gases go into a little chamber right here, which pushes a rod, which is spring-loaded, against the bolt carrier. So all of the gases stay up here in the front of the gun. They don't go back into the bolt carrier. This gun will run a lot cleaner, but there's a downside to a piston gun, and that is, number one, it is more complex. There's more moving parts in here, which means they're more likely to break. Now, I know what some people are going to say. The HK system here, which is the same as it is on the HK416 and other companies, they have shown to be extremely reliable, and you're absolutely right. But the law of mechanics says the more moving parts, the more complicated the machine is, the more likely it is to fail. That's problem number one. Problem number two is you have a lot more parts, which means the gun is going to be a lot heavier. One of the advantages of the M4 or the M16 platform is that it is a very light weapon system. Well, I know today we put on a lot of accessories, scopes, lights, lasers, forends, grips, all that kind of stuff. I get it, we weight them down. But if you ever get to hold an M16A1, it's amazing how light that platform is. That's kind of the initial philosophy and design. So a soldier doesn't have to carry such a heavy rifle, so they can carry other things like ammunition, supplies, and so forth. It really lightens their load. But when it comes to a piston gun, these things can get quite heavy. They're more complex, and many times also, depending on the company that produces them, they're going to be a proprietary system. So this uses an HK system, as I said, that essentially is the same as it is on the 416, the HK 416. This is not going to be the same as it is on other domestic manufacturers of piston upper receivers. So if that company happens to go out of business, you finding replacement parts, springs, rods, and so forth, or seals, will be quite difficult. That's one of the downsides of a piston-driven gun, where the direct impingement guns have been around for so long and the parts are so universal that replacing anything in here is a lot easier. And I can tell you, even just going between these two guns and holding them for this video, this gun is so much lighter, which I think actually makes it a much more versatile gun. I know there's people that will always be against the direct impingement system, and they usually will complain about things about what happened back in Vietnam when the gun was first introduced. But those problems have been rectified. But my personal thought is, when it comes to AR-15s alone, the direct impingement system is the way to go, and it is the way that an AR-15 was designed to be. However, if you are a huge fan of the concept of a piston-driven gun, my suggestion to you is go buy a gun that was designed to be piston-driven. If you like a long-stroke piston system, which means the piston is actually part of the bolt carrier, go with a gun like an AK-47, AK-74. If you like a short-stroke piston system like an AR-18, there are many guns out there. Of course, you can find an AR-180, which is like the civilian version of the AR-18, or you can buy an FN SCAR, would be another option. Right now, Brownells makes the BR-180, which is like the AR-180, but it's like in their own format. Or you can get a gun like this, which is the Bushmaster ACR. I know these right now are currently out of production, but they're still out there to be had and to be found. But these were guns that were designed around a piston system. And in my opinion, they're better than essentially taking a piston mechanism and shoving it into a gun that was designed to be direct impingement. So that's my thoughts, my opinions. You are free to disagree, and if you do, that's okay. You don't got to get mad at me just because I like a particular system and you think I'm wrong. We can still be friends, right? Of course we can. So anyway, there we go. So that is my thoughts on the differences between direct impingement and piston-operated AR-15s and other guns that use piston systems. So let me know if you have any questions, and I hope this answered my people who are always asking, what do you think about piston AR-15s? So now you know. So as always, thanks for watching.